Hi there, Pyros. Flamefist here. And before I do this, I'd like to welcome everyone to the end of the single-digit generational Pokemon games. Welcome to Generation 9. Now, before I do my collection talk about, I would like to show off what I'll be unboxing at the end before I do my first thoughts of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And here it is, the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Dual Pack Steelbook Edition. Now I'll show off what the box looks like more after I've done my collection and spoken about my history with playing them. But I would like to thank you guys for watching this with me. And without further ado, let's go through the Pokemon history that is me. Let's start off in the yearly order to make it a bit more understanding. Here we have 1996. Pokemon Green and Pokemon Red. Now these games are very unique in the collection because they both have the very ugly Pokemon pixel art. A lot of people consider them to be pretty ugly anyway. And this one, Pokemon Green, was never released outside of Japan, so it wasn't easy for me to obtain when I was able to get it. And this one as I mentioned, contains the same pixel art as Green does. So this is the unique version of Pokemon Red. I actually do like how it's got the leaf symbol there for Green, and it's got the flame symbol right there for Red, which is pretty cool. It even says the 1995 Creatures Inc. Game Freak Incorporated Nintendo. So, I mean, it was released, but it looks like it was copyrighted back a year prior. So, well, there you go. And now we shall move on to proper Generation 1, where it released in English. Here's my collection that I hold dear. Pokemon Red and Blue. Sorry, I can't tell my left from my right on a camera. Yeah, these ones I got, I think, for my 8th birthday. And yeah, I've been enjoying these. I'm finished both of these when I played them. I think about a few months afterwards, I discovered the Missingno glitch, which allowed me to multiply my items by 255, because that was the coding. That was the coding maximum back in those days. And I used these two to complete the Pokedex of this a year later on Pokemon Yellow, which I think this one was the start of interesting things to come in Pokemon's future, because Pikachu could follow you outside the Pokeball. So, yeah, a lot of interesting things started with this game in particular, especially Pikachu using voice acting instead of its digital cry. I mean, the voice acted Pikachu cry in Pokemon Yellow, it was very welcome, but for later games, Pikachu had it a lot more clearer. Well, in this one, it was like very muffled in that. You can only just make that you're saying Pikachu, or like all the other wordings. And you could interact with Pikachu, and he'd have different expressions for how he's feeling towards the trainer. If you were to walk up to the Clefairy doll over in Or what was the electric gym? Actually, it's been that long. Not Saffron. Not Saffron City, was it? No. Vermilion. There we go. Yeah. In Vermilion City, you go to the Pokemon fan club and you see a guy with a Pokédoll, and Pikachu would react as if he was in love with it, but he wouldn't. But he doesn't know it's a Pokédoll, and when you go to see Bill when he's dressed up as the Kabuto, he Pikachu thinks it's a real Pokemon, but then when you free Bill from the fusion with his teleporter, Pikachu gets shocked about it, thinking, "Oh my god, how did this happen?" All that sort of thing, or it scares me, or whatever. But or another case where Pikachu would learn Thunderbolt or Thunder, and he's excited to use it. So you interact with Pikachu in the open world, and Pikachu would demonstrate his Thunder or Thunderbolt, which actually looked pretty cool. But yeah, this was probably my first game to complete the Pokédex on, so yeah, I was very proud of that. And that was my trip through Generation 1. Sorry if I'm not looking directly at the camera, I'm trying to, I keep getting distracted by the screen, but yeah. Anyway, this is my journey through Generation 2. I think I got Pokemon Gold and Silver when I had a trip over in Queensland when I was about 9, I think. Or, I don't know. It launched after Pokemon 2000. So that would have been, yeah, when it was either 9 or 10. I got these over in my vacation in Queensland. And oh boy, what... Oh, the Dragon Gym Leader, she was tough. Oh, I lost so many times. But yeah, I pulled through. And then I think on my 10th birthday, or 11th, either one, yeah, I can't keep track of my age with Gen 2. I got this Pokemon Crystal version. And this was probably one of the most fun games that I played in Generation 2. I didn't complete the Pokédex for that, but I enjoyed the fact that Pokemon Crystal had animated pixel art this time, rather than just still imagery. So it was pretty cool. It's an introduction for, again, things to come. And it did quite impress me. One other game that I don't think I have any more, but I have played roughly through most of it, is Pokemon in the trading card game. That was very nostalgic for me to remember. That was a very tough game, and it made the trading card game a lot of fun to play, actually. Having it act like the Pokemon games, but in the trading card sort of sense, with collecting the badges, making sure you have the right deck and everything. And it introduced one weird character to the video game series called Imakuni, who was, I think from my research, was a game show host in Japan, and he would do like really wacky things. And so you would find him randomly in Pokemon trading card game, and he would give you random cards, and one very rare card, which would be the Imakuni trainer card, which was pretty cool. And then after that, I think a year later, after Generation 2, I ended up getting, let's see, oh, there it is. I think I finished it. I ended up getting these two on the year of their launch, and when I got my Game Boy Advance, so I was pretty fresh in the Game Boy Advance era, and these were really enjoyable. Ruby and Sapphire version. I loved the concept of the double battles in it, and I think Groudon would have to be my favorite of the two legendaries in the duo editions. And Team Magma were pretty awesome too. The starter I chose in Generation 3 was Torchic, which I got my Blaziken up to level 100. Generation 2 I did Cyndaquil, which was my very first level 100 Pokemon on that, which was Typhlosion. I worked really hard for that. Generation 1 I started with Bulbasaur, because I looked at the best types to go through the story, and I tried Charmander and Squirtle. It was a bit difficult going through that. And I found it was a lot easier with Bulbasaur and going through with Venusaur. So, yeah. So I enjoyed this when I started my Game Boy Advance gaming. And then got this on launch too, when it released. I'm sorry I'm not mentioning the years. I'm trying to go now through which games I got through age order rather than year order. But yeah, I like the animations they did with this. It was sort of a cross between concept art and pixel animated this time. And this one introduced one of my favourite dragon type legendaries, Rayquaza, which was pretty cool. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to participate in any of the mystery gift events, because I don't think many came down here during the Game Boy Advance era, or I wasn't able to make it. But the story on this was enjoyable nonetheless. But it threw me for a bit of a loop, though. The Wallace from Sootopolis City was the champion and not Steven. That was kind of weird, because even in the anime, Steven was considered to be the champion of Hoenn. But yeah, I was able to finish all three of Generation 3, and then not long after that, I got these two for my birthday on their respected launches. I was kind of sneaky back then when I was about, I think, 12 or 13, because I was an impatient little kid, and I would try looking around for the birthday presents, see if I could open them up early. And these were unfortunately one of my successful findings, and I kind of got in trouble and had to put them away. Not before I had a decent run of Fire Red, mind you. But these were improvements too. From my playthrough, I got through all of it. Went through the Sevi Islands. Again, I missed out with the mystery gift events, because I couldn't make it to Fountain Gate to when those events happened. But yeah, I like the story of these. The remakes were very spot on with the story, and they added a little bit of extras, including the Generation 3 National Decks. Yeah, I think a fair bit of other stuff. But the Sevi Islands were the most impressive ones of all, because they gave to like an added story mode. Sort of like finding the Hypno that took away the kids in the forest, stopping a biker gang so you could advance further, and going through the Sevi Islands to find Moltres, which was fun. But yeah, that's Generation 4. And now... Oh no, Generation 3. Whoops. And now we'll go through Generation 4. So, first things first, let's remove them from the pile. And here we go. Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. These every Pokemon game after Generation 3, I did get on their launch dates, and I was pretty excited to get these when they launched, because when they were being previewed, they looked really impressive, having like 3D, well, somewhat 3D models in the event, so mini game areas, and also with the buildings, as you can see at the Pokemon Center here. If you can, oh no, it's not focusing, but yeah, they was just starting out with 3D models for Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. So, yeah, it was an interesting beginning for the new generation. The story was pretty good, having Team Galactic trying to get Dialga and Palkia to try and create a new universe in which everything is reset and put into Team Galactic's style of what reality they want. But in the end, the heroes foiled their plans, and yeah, the gym leaders were pretty interesting in that. Barry, your rival, he was interesting. If you're not going to make it in time, I'm going to fine you so-and-so Pokédollars. That always made me giggle whenever he bumped into me. But then after that, we had Pokemon Platinum, which added a lot more, and probably introduced one of my favourite characters in the Pokemon series, which would be the Doctor Who reference character known as Looker. Because he looked a lot like David Tennant's 10th Doctor in Doctor Who. And yeah, he would just bump into you randomly, asking you if there's been any sort of criminal activities being around, mostly with Team Galactic. But yeah, with the legendary changing with Giratina and going into the distortion world, that was actually really cool. So yeah, that's Generation 4, which then ended up bringing in, where is it? Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, ended up bringing Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Now these games, these were back when I had my DSTT, and I would download ROMs for this. I was able to surpass the piracy checker, and I liked Heart Gold and Soul Silver so much, I ended up pre-ordering these two at the same time with the Pokewalker. The Pokewalker was actually kind of interesting because it's sort of like the Pokeball we have now, but more or less a Tamagotchi. But yeah, the redone story with Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal were actually pretty well done, and introducing Not-Sheared Pichu, and giving you a chance to get Celebi and go back in time and see when Giovanni finally gave up Team Rocket for good, and why Silver was as mad as he was. But yeah, that's my journey through Generation 4 with the main games. But then came... Oh yeah, I forgot. Then came the Generation 4 spin-off games, which were actually a lot of fun. my first one was this Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team. This is probably the first Pokemon game that I've played that made me cry at the very end, because I got to know the characters deep down. And just the thought of your friend just suddenly leaving after his job ends, it feels kind of heartbreaking, because the real thought of losing a friend is not good. So yeah, very relatable. Then after that, I got this Pokemon Ranger. This is a lot of fun. I wasn't able to get Shadows of Almia or Guardian Signs, I think the other one was called. But yeah, this was another game that was a lot of fun that I finished. I think the hardest Pokemon for me to capture would be Charizard, because he kept on breaking my capture line. But it was a fun game and introduced a new spin to the series, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then my final of Generation 4 was Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky, which I got for, I think, my 14th or 15th birthday. And this was a really good game. And again, at the end of this game, the same effect. The sight of seeing the friend leave, the main character leave the friend, and the friend being heartbroken, brought me to tears. I just can't stand sad moments in video games. It hurts. But the story was really good, and the gameplay was a lot of fun too. So yeah, that's my journey through Generation 4. And now we go through Generation 5. Now these are my pickups that I got for launch. I kind of got a bit confused with which one was which at first, because I thought Pokemon Black would have Zekrom and Pokemon White would have Reshiram. But yeah, I mean, I did play both, and I did like how Black had I liked how Pokemon White had the White version had the Dragon City in the forest, while in this one the Dragon City was in the future, which was pretty cool. It's sort of brings off a bit of a hint on maybe what Game Freak were probably considering on doing in a future game, which now with Scarlet and Violet. But yeah, the introduction of fully animated pixel art was really good with this. And in the cinematics, with the 3D models of Pokemon, was pretty cool, with Reshiram and Zekrom appearing. And the thought of triple battles was actually triple battles were interesting as well. You have your rotation battles, or 3-on-3 battles. And also, this is a reminder that I'm just looking at now. The idea of seasons changing, whenever it were to happen in real life. Like if it's autumn in real life, it's autumn in the game. That's pretty cool. And then after that, a year later, we came with Pokemon Black and White 2. And I got the Kyurem edition of both, which gave silver coins of Black Kyurem and White Kyurem. These games were really interesting too. They sort of expanded on the story of Pokemon Black and White 1 with Team Plasma. And the story of them wanting to force trainers to get rid of their Pokemon because their concept of freedom was vastly different was really cool, because it sort of gives off the concept of what would happen if protesters were to be bad guys. But yeah, they introduced a new evolution concept in this one, which was called fusion, which is what Kyurem is based on, because Kyurem does not normally look like this or this. He was one third of 2/3, which became a whole. But because you could only choose one or the other, they had you go with Reshiram Kyurem, aka White Kyurem, or Zekrom Kyurem, aka Black Kyurem. And yeah, I thought that was actually a pretty interesting concept. And oh yeah, and with Pokemon Dream Radar, that was pretty cool too. The thought of using your DS's camera or DSi's camera to scan the room and search for AR Pokemon, sort of like True Form, Tornadus, Landorus, or Thundurus, was actually pretty cool. And they also introduced the true form of Keldeo, Justice form, I think, and also the true form of Meloetta. And then there was Genesect, which was finally revealed in this game properly. But yeah, that's my journey through Generation 5. And now we go through Generation 6, which starts with Pokemon X and Y. There's no steelbook case, but that is there, no. But yeah, this is my journey through Generation 6. I was actually excited to get these because they brought up the concept of Mega Evolution, which is sort of a copycat concept of Digivolution in Digimon, where you go up to the next stage, but it's a temporary stage of evolution. And they also added some like mini games into this in the style of Pokémon and Super Training. Well, Pokemon is where you look after your Pokemon, scratch them in the chin, feed them. But the Super Training, that was actually a really interesting concept of mini games. You attack balloons and train them, and however you do in that Super Training gives you a certain stat boost, which was pretty cool. And they introduced a new typing to this called Fairy typing, on top of Generation 2's Steel and Dark typing. Yeah, I think that was about it. And these were the first games to actually introduce 3D models, even though they were still kind of pixely, but for the most part, yeah, 3D models. So I really enjoyed that. And then with let's see, oh yeah, here we go. Oh, okay, I didn't bring out the or else plastic covers. Oh well. Yeah, this is the next purchases for Generation Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal, Ruby, Sapphire, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Black and White. Yeah, for Generation 6. Sorry, I almost forgot. Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I was really happy to get these in the mail when I got them because I don't think Australia had the steelbook cases at the time. So yeah, I really like the art inside these of Omega Groudon and Omega Kyogre. And I like the art on the steelbook cases as well of Groudon and Kyogre in their Omega forms. Right here. I think the designs are, the design is the same in this one too. But redoing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire was actually a pretty smart move for Game Freak at the time, because a lot of people were begging to revisit this, and I'm glad they did. And as a bonus, which I thought was pretty neat, is that they put a Pokemon Emerald sort of story into the post game called Delta Emerald, which was actually a rather welcome addition too, because a lot of people would have wanted an Emerald sort of spin as well, which I'm glad they did with these. And then after that, we have let's see, this is still within the Generation 6 era. We have these here we have Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity, which was another game that I really enjoyed. I don't think I finished this, but it was fun nonetheless. The thought of the idea of the Magna Gates were pretty interesting to go to the mystery dungeons. So yeah, that was an interesting spin in the gameplay of this game. And this was one of my interests to get Super Pokemon Rumble, because I tried Pokemon Rumble on I think it was the Nintendo Wii when it started off. And that was a lot of fun playing as little Pokemon figurines. Pokemon figurines in Battle Royale style of battles. But it was fun. And then this is a game I definitely never finished, Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon, because I think at that point I was burnt out on Mystery Dungeon games, and it bored me. I think past halfway. Yeah, I never finished this, but to say it wasn't a good game would be incorrect, because I did enjoy it until I got bored of it. But yeah, and now we go into Generation 7 with Pokemon Sun, which I got the steelbook for this, and then Pokemon Moon. This is the start of when I really started collecting the steelbooks for Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I really liked the soundtrack for this. The soundtrack was really amazing, and I liked the idea of Z moves in this, because it sort of gives like a twist to already interesting battle moves. And the region of Alola, I would have to say, was actually a rather beautiful looking location with all its beaches and the islands and different environments. I loved it. But then it was the start of what people like to call Dexit, which unfortunately meant that the national Dex was to disappear, which, I mean, the games are starting to get more and more bigger, and I guess sacrifices need to be made. I mean, it's not a big deal for me to lose the National Dex, because I can still capture a lot of Pokemon, and my goal to complete the Pokedex is still there. Just not in the National Dex sort of sense, but that's why we have Pokemon Home. But yeah, after getting Pokemon Sun and Moon, there was Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon, which were not really a trilogy sort of thing. It was more or less a re-release with just the little addition of Team Rainbow Rocket, which, I mean, I can sort of understand the complaints with Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. The story was remotely the same, not much was changed. I did like the idea of Solgaleo and Lunala combining with I've forgotten the Pokemon's name. Does it say? No, it doesn't. I've forgotten the main legendary in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but combining with that Pokemon once again in the style of Kyurem, and yeah, it's, that's pretty much about it with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Then came the Wii U and Switch era, which I think was a step in the right direction. Yeah, sorry if you hear me twitch. That's something that happens with me whenever I get a little too into my conversations. I start to get random twitches. I never really discovered that until later in my life. But yeah, I've learnt to deal with it. It's nothing too much of a bother to me. But yeah, here we go with the Wii U era. We have Pokken Tournament, which was a very fun Tekken-style fighting game. And very unfortunately, it came at a time when my Wii U was acting up. So I had trouble playing this, but fortunately I got it fixed and was able to play this, and I was able to use Shadow Mewtwo, and I think he was probably my favourite character in Pokken Tournament. And it also introduced me to the interesting concept of the amiibo card, because I was used to the figurines, because I was collecting the figurines at the time, and yeah, the thought of an amiibo card was really cool, and that's when I not too long ago I started getting the interest of collecting them, which is why I've got this book now. I've got this book that contains a starting collection to my amiibo cards. And then after Pokken Tournament, the Switch era started coming in. And we started off with a reboot of Pokemon in Kanto. Red, Blue, Yellow and Green, in the style of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Now, I was lucky enough to find this on eBay, the steelbook case for Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and I'm very proud of finding this because it's quite rare. But yeah, to have Pokemon Go interpreted into this sort of game was actually a lot of fun, and having it be co-op multiplayer was actually really fun, because you could have your friend battle with the second Pokemon, well, you use the main Pokemon, and they could roam around you in the zones in your journey, and it was actually a pretty interesting way of training your Pokemon, because it wasn't really like EXP share, but you shared your EXP among two Pokemon, one that two that battled alongside each other, so they both shared the same EXP, and you could ride on your Pokemon if they were able to be ridden on, so like Rapidash, Dragonite, Charizard, yeah, and you gotta have them follow you around, so it was a nice return for that, because they sort of returned that in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which was pretty cool. But this one sort of, I think, had them on their proper size, which was another cool concept. But I really like the way that they pretty much rebooted Generation 1 with this, to give off an idea of what they would do with the next games, which would be Pokemon Sword and Shield, which I've got the steelbooks, all 3 steelbooks for this. So again, another proud moment for me. And this was the start of so like a semi-open world for Pokemon, because you had the wild areas, which was basically massive explorable locations. Anybody that's played Sword and Shield would know this. Anybody that hasn't, I'm explaining. But yeah, these were the first Pokemon games to have DLC with them, being the Isle of Armor and the Isle of I've forgotten the other one. Darn it. But yeah, I think the Isle of Armor was probably one of my favourites, but I think my most favourite would be the one that I've forgotten, which has you collecting all the legendary Pokemon in the cave via raid battles, and also introduced the Dragon type Reggie and the Electric type Reggie, which were both pretty cool. And I completed the decks of these. I think most of my games, except for Generation 2 and 3, I completed the Pokedex for. But yeah, these were actually pretty fun. The concept of Gigantamaxing was pretty cool, but the Dynamax, having them just be big, no change, I could be in the middle with that. I like the form changes a lot. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, this is Generation 8. And then came I like to call this Generation 8.5 because it was on the way to becoming what I'm going to be unboxing next. But yeah, Generation 9 introduced Pokemon Legends Arceus and Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Legends of Arceus was really good because it gave off sort of like a... It sort of gave me a Monster Hunter sort of vibe with the not Titan Pokemon, Alpha Pokemon, I think that's what they were called. Yeah, it gave them a Monster Hunter sort of vibe because when you get attacked, you got to dodge them and you got to try and do your best to weaken them in order to capture them, or you try and be sneaky and capture them that way, if you want to capture them with full health, and then with Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, they pretty much remade it point to point, but with the 3D model engine from X and Y, and made the trainers all chibi style, which I think is fine, because the whole point of a remaster is to try and make a game as much as you remember it. I mean, yes, with Omega Ruby and Alpha, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire having the X and Y engine and the trainers looking a bit different. That was pretty good. But I do like that they tried to keep Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl pretty much the same in every way. But also keeping to having a Pokemon following you around, and I actually welcome this, so I'm happy with it. But now, seeing as I've gone through my generation history from Generation 1 to 8, I will now go through what we've been waiting for. Generation 9, Scarlet and Violet, Jewel Pack Steelbook Edition. Let's take a look at what's inside. I do like the split images of Koraidon and Midaidon. I'm going to keep on pronouncing it like that because I think that's how it would be pronounced in Spain. But yeah, here we go. Here we have the normal covers. Scarlet with damn left and right. Yeah, Scarlet with Koraidon and Violet with Midaidon. I actually do like the concept art, the designs of them on the covers here. Are they in there? Yep. Ooh. It's got a book in there. I think I saw the book in the overview trailer. So that'll be interesting to use in the game. And here's the same here for Pokemon Violet. But the big main attraction would be this. The steelbook case with Midaidon at the front and Koraidon at the back. And remove this DLC card for the 100 Pokeballs. Here we have the schools for Violet and Scarlet, the emblems. And I do like how they've sort of got the I can't remember what the churches would call that glass, but it's sort of like carved glass, or yeah, I've really forgotten what they call that. But yeah, I really like the look of this steelbook, and I look forward to playing some Pokemon Scarlet and Violet when I'm done with this. But yeah, this one is good. This one is one of my shorter looking at unboxings for Pokemon Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, because it's just a steelbook case in that. So yeah, with that done, I shall give my first thoughts of playing the ROMs of Scarlet and Violet. So when I played the ROM, I played a little bit of it, but I didn't play too much because I didn't want to reveal too much of the story for me. I just wanted to get a feel for the game. But from what reviewers have said, yes, they're correct. The performance is kind of lacking in docked mode because it tends to slow down and have a bit of hiccups. This is on both version 1.0 and 1.1. They both had their hiccups, and they had their slowdowns and texture flickering and that sort of things. But in docked, it performed a lot better because the emulator I use has a docked and undocked function, so I swap between the two to see how performance would go. And yeah, dock is the more preferred. So for those that haven't played Scarlet and Violet yet, my high recommendation is to play it in docked until further updates that fix undocked up. Oh no, play it in handheld, not docked. Yeah, whoops, sorry. Play it in handheld for better performance, and wait for docked to get the proper updates. Yeah. The terrestrialization, that's actually pretty interesting. It's not OP as Mega Evolutions, Gigantamaxing, and Z moves are, because when you use them, you've got to go to the Pokemon Center to recharge it. So they're given a limitation, which I like. If anybody catches a flying Pokemon and your Pokeball doesn't land on the ground, that's not a bug. That's actually meant to happen because a flying Pokemon has the Pokeball float, to which I'm safely assuming that's the same with landing on the water, where it will just bob up and down in the water if you catch a water Pokemon. I rode on Koraidon for a bit in Scarlet, and I have to say I did enjoy it. And the open world is definitely not barren from what I've seen, from what I've played. I could not stop bumping into a Pokemon even accidentally. So yeah, let's just say that you will be in for a treat, and don't let the frame rate issues in docked bother you, because as I said, I highly recommend not playing in docked. Don't play through the TV, play through the Switch itself, because it'll be much more enjoyable with less issues. But yeah, I think that's about it for my first thoughts. I was going to do a comparison with other games, but I think my first thoughts is sticking to the point of the Scarlet and Violet is good enough for people to understand. But yeah, I thank you for going through this with me, and I hope you enjoyed seeing my collection. And yeah, I hope you look forward to my future videos of any sort of big collector's editions that I do. And yeah, I hope if you enjoyed this, please like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have put my Discord link in the about section of my channel. So if you want to join that and have a conversation, then feel free to do so. I'm also accepting friend codes on my Nintendo Switch if you want to join me on some co-op. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoys Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and the final farewell to single digit generations. And I look forward to doing future videos. But yeah, anyways, this is Flame Fist signing out. Keep the game of passion burning, everyone, and I hope to see you on the flip side. Ciao for now.